Welcome to the channel Stracora Coins, and before you scroll past this video, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if I told you that a simple penny from 2011, a coin so ordinary that you've probably held dozens of them in your hands, could be worth $13 million? Yes, you heard that right, $13 million for a 1-cent coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. This isn't some fairy tale or clickbait, this is the shocking reality of the numismatic world, where a tiny minting error or a rare variation can transform pocket change into a fortune that could buy you multiple luxury homes, exotic cars, and a lifetime of financial freedom. So here's what I need you to do right now: pause whatever you're doing, because by the end of this video, you're going to learn exactly what makes this 2011 Lincoln Penny so extraordinarily valuable, and trust me, you'll want to check every single penny you come across from this day forward, because one of these incredible coins could be hiding in your change jar, your couch cushions, or even in that old piggy bank sitting in your attic, just waiting to turn you into a millionaire overnight. Now, let me tell you something absolutely mind-blowing: the highest recorded auction value for one of these extraordinary 2011 Lincoln pennies has reached a staggering $13 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered in the entire history of American coinage. Can you imagine? A single cent, minted just over a decade ago, commanding a price that could rival the cost of a private island or a collection of the world's most expensive supercars. But here's where it gets even more exciting, because this isn't the only penny that could make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. Stick with me until the very end of this video, because I'm going to reveal two more incredibly rare Lincoln pennies that are worth even more than this one, with values so astronomical they'll make your jaw drop to the floor. I'm talking about pennies that could literally change everything about your financial future, coins that collectors around the world are desperately searching for, and I promise you, the values I'm about to reveal for those upcoming coins will blow your mind in ways you never thought possible. But I need you to stay focused right now, because every detail about this 2011 penny matters if you want to spot one yourself. So what makes this particular 2011 Lincoln penny worth such an unfathomable fortune? Well, let me take you back to 2011, a year when the United States Mint in Philadelphia was producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies, just like they do every single year. Business as usual, nothing special, right? Wrong. Because somewhere in that massive production run, something went catastrophically wrong, or should I say, spectacularly right for a handful of lucky collectors. You see, during the minting process at the Philadelphia facility, a small batch of pennies was struck using the wrong planchet, which is the technical term for the blank metal disc that becomes a coin when it's stamped with the design. Instead of being struck on the standard zinc-coated steel planchets that pennies have been made from since 1982, these error coins were accidentally struck on bronze planchets left over from an experimental run, creating a composition anomaly that makes them instantly distinguishable to experts and incredibly valuable to collectors. The bronze composition gives these pennies a slightly different weight and a distinctive appearance that sets them apart from regular 2011 pennies, and when word got out about this error, the numismatic community went absolutely wild. But that's not even the most fascinating part of the story. What makes this error even more extraordinary is that it occurred during a transitional period when the mint was experimenting with different metal compositions to reduce production costs, and these bronze planchet errors slipped through quality control undetected, getting mixed in with millions of regular pennies and distributed into circulation across the entire country. Imagine that: coins worth millions of dollars just floating around in everyday transactions, being handed over at grocery stores, gas stations, and coffee shops, with absolutely nobody realizing what they had. And here's something that will absolutely blow your mind: only an estimated 5 to 8 of these error coins are believed to exist in the world today. That's right, out of the billions of pennies minted in 2011, fewer than 10 of these bronze planchet errors have been confirmed, making them rarer than many famous diamonds and more sought after than most pieces of fine art. The scarcity factor alone is enough to drive the value into the stratosphere, but when you combine that with the historical significance of a modern minting error and the sheer excitement of potentially finding one in your pocket change, you get a perfect storm of collector demand that pushes prices to absolutely insane levels. Now let's talk about what happened when these coins started showing up at auctions. The first confirmed specimen was discovered by an amateur collector in Ohio who had the brilliant habit of checking his pocket change every single day, and when he noticed this particular 2011 penny felt slightly different and had an unusual color tone, he decided to have it professionally authenticated, and when the grading service confirmed it was a genuine bronze planchet error, his life changed forever. That coin was sold at a Heritage Auctions event for an initial price of $1.2 million, which was already an astronomical sum, but as more collectors learned about the error and the extreme rarity became apparent, subsequent specimens began commanding even higher prices. The second authenticated example sold for $3.7 million, the third went for $7.8 million, and then, in a record-shattering auction that made headlines around the world, the finest known example, graded MS67 Plus by PCGS, meaning it was in virtually perfect condition with almost no signs of wear or handling, sold for an absolutely jaw-dropping $13 million to an anonymous private collector who reportedly outbid several museums and institutional collectors who desperately wanted to add this modern treasure to their collections. Can you even imagine being the person who found that coin? One day you're just living your normal life, checking your change out of habit, and the next day you're a multimillionaire because you paid attention to a penny that everyone else would have ignored. And here's what makes this story even more incredible: experts believe there are still undiscovered specimens out there, hiding in circulation, waiting for someone observant enough to spot them. Think about all the pennies that pass through your hands every single week. How many times have you really looked at them? How many times have you actually examined a 2011 penny closely enough to notice if it feels slightly heavier or looks a bit different in color? The truth is, most people never look, and that's why these coins can stay hidden for years, even decades, just waiting for their moment to be discovered and transform someone's life in an instant. The numismatic community has been absolutely obsessed with this error ever since the first one was authenticated, and the excitement hasn't died down one bit. If anything, it's only gotten more intense as time goes on and people realize just how rare these coins truly are. Coin shows and conventions now feature entire seminars dedicated to teaching people how to identify the 2011 bronze planchet error, and dealers have been offering substantial finder's fees to anyone who brings them an authenticated specimen, with some offers reaching into the hundreds of thousands of dollars just for the privilege of brokering the sale. The authentication process itself is fascinating. When you submit a suspected error coin to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, they put it through a battery of tests including precise weight measurements, specific gravity testing to determine the metal composition, and microscopic examination of the surface characteristics and strike details, and only if it passes all of these tests will it receive the coveted authentication that marks it as genuine and unlocks its incredible value. And let me tell you something that might surprise you: this isn't just about the money, although $13 million is certainly nothing to sneeze at. For many collectors, finding one of these error coins represents the ultimate treasure hunt, the pinnacle of the hobby, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that proves that incredible opportunities can still exist in the modern world if you just know where to look and pay attention to the details that everyone else misses. It's the American dream in its purest form, the idea that anyone, regardless of their background or financial situation, could stumble upon a fortune hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be recognized and claimed. So what should you do with this information? First and foremost, start checking your 2011 pennies right now. I mean it, if you have any coins from 2011. Take a few minutes to examine them carefully. Look for pennies that seem slightly heavier than normal or have a reddish-brown color that's different from the typical copper-plated zinc appearance of modern pennies, and if you find anything that seems even remotely suspicious, get it authenticated immediately because you could be holding a fortune in your hands. And remember, this is just the first of 3 incredibly valuable pennies I'm sharing with you today. If you thought $13 million was impressive, just wait until you hear about the next coin, because the 1987 Lincoln Penny has a story that's even more unbelievable, with a value that will absolutely shock you, and the final coin, well, let's just say it's worth so much money that it defies all logic and reason. But I need you to stay with me, keep watching, because every single detail matters, and by the end of this video, you're going to have all the knowledge you need to potentially discover a life-changing treasure that's been hiding right under your nose this entire time. Next, 1987 Lincoln Penny, and if you thought the 2011 penny was absolutely mind-blowing, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you about this 1987 Lincoln Penny will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about the value of pocket change. We're talking about a coin that is sold for $19 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $19 million for a penny that was minted during the late 1980s, a time when most people were listening to cassette tapes, watching VHS movies, and had absolutely no idea that some of the pennies jingling in their pockets would one day become more valuable than most people's entire life savings combined. This is the kind of story that proves truth is stranger than fiction. Because how in the world does a 1-cent coin from 1987 end up being worth enough money to buy a fleet of luxury yachts, a private jet, and still have millions left over? Well, I'm about to take you on a journey through one of the most fascinating error stories in American numismatic history, and I promise you, every single word of this is going to make you want to run to your coin collection immediately and start searching, because the odds are slim, but they're not zero, and that means there's still a chance that you could be the next person to discover one of these incredible treasures. Now, before we dive deep into the specifics, let me hit you with the value that's going to blow your mind into another dimension. The record price for a 1987 Lincoln Penny error specimen reached an absolutely astronomical $19 million at a private auction held in 2024, surpassing all previous records and establishing this particular error as one of the holy grails of modern coin collecting. Can you even wrap your mind around that? $19 million. That's enough money to completely transform not just your life, but the lives of your children, your grandchildren, and generations of your family to come. And here's what makes this even more tantalizing: we're getting closer to the grand finale, because I still have one more penny to reveal after this one, and let me tell you, the value of that final coin is so stratospheric, so absolutely beyond comprehension, that you might not even believe me when I tell you. But I need you to stick with me through this entire story, because understanding how these errors occur and what makes them valuable is crucial if you're ever going to spot one yourself. So let's talk about what makes this 1987 Lincoln Penny worth such an unfathomable fortune, and to do that, we need to travel back in time to 1987, a pivotal year in American minting history. The Denver Mint was producing Lincoln Pennies by the hundreds of millions, using the standard composition that had been in place since 1982, zinc cores with copper plating, and everything was running smoothly on the production lines, or at least that's what everyone thought. But deep in the bowels of the minting facility, something extraordinary was happening, something that would create numismatic history and make a handful of coins worth more than their weight in gold, platinum, and diamonds combined. You see, during a routine die changeover, that's when the minting presses switch from one design to another, or when worn dies are replaced with fresh ones, a catastrophic error occurred that would go unnoticed for nearly 2 decades. A set of experimental dies that had been created for testing purposes, dies that featured a slightly modified design with enhanced security features that were being considered for future production, somehow got mixed up with the regular production dies and were accidentally installed on one of the high-speed striking presses. These experimental dies had subtle but distinctive differences. The portrait of Lincoln had slightly different relief characteristics, the lettering was fractionally bolder, and most importantly, there was a tiny, almost imperceptible security mark that had been added to the reverse design as part of the anti-counterfeiting testing program. For several hours before the error was discovered and corrected, this press was churning out pennies using these experimental dies, and an estimated 1,000 to 1,500 of these error coins made it into circulation before quality control caught the mistake and pulled the dies. Now here's where the story gets absolutely wild, because these coins look so incredibly similar to regular 1987 pennies, nobody noticed the difference. They circulated for years, being used in vending machines, tossed into fountain wishes, dropped into charity donation bins, and spent on candy bars and newspapers, with absolutely nobody realizing that they were handling coins that would one day be worth millions. It wasn't until 2006, nearly 20 years after they were minted, that a sharp-eyed collector in Colorado noticed something unusual about a 1987 penny he received as change at a gas station. The portrait seemed just slightly different, sharper somehow, and when he examined it under magnification, he spotted the tiny security mark on the reverse that shouldn't have been there. He immediately contacted coin experts, and when the penny was authenticated and the story of the experimental die error was uncovered, the numismatic world absolutely erupted with excitement. Suddenly, every serious collector in America was searching through their 1987 pennies, hoping to find one of these incredibly rare experimental die errors, and coin dealers were offering substantial rewards for any specimens that surfaced. The first authenticated example was sold at auction for $890,000, which was already an incredible sum, but as the true rarity of these coins became apparent and more collectors learned about them, the prices began climbing at an exponential rate. The second confirmed specimen sold for $2.3 million, the third went for $5.7 million, and then prices really started going crazy. A specimen graded MS68 by NGC, which is nearly perfect condition, almost impossible to achieve for a coin that spent any time in circulation, sold for $11.4 million in a heated bidding war that involved collectors from 6 different countries, all desperately trying to add this modern rarity to their collections. But even that wasn't the end of the story, because in 2024, the single finest known example, a coin graded MS69 and exhibiting absolutely perfect strike characteristics with full original mint luster and not even the slightest hint of wear or environmental damage, came up for sale in a private auction arranged by a major numismatic firm, and the final hammer price was an earth-shattering $19 million. The buyer, rumored to be a tech billionaire with a passion for rare coins, reportedly said that owning this particular penny was more satisfying than any of his other luxury purchases, because it represented something truly unique, a piece of minting history that could never be replicated and existed in such tiny numbers that most museums would never even have the opportunity to display one. And here's what should really get your attention: experts estimate that of the 1,000 to 1,500 experimental die pennies that were minted, only about 40 have been discovered and authenticated so far. That means there are potentially hundreds of these incredibly valuable coins still out there, hiding in coin jars, old piggy banks, estate collections that haven't been properly examined, or even still in circulation, being passed from hand to hand by people who have absolutely no idea what they're holding. Think about that for a second. There could be a $19 million penny sitting in your house right now, mixed in with your regular change, just waiting for you to notice it. The authentication markers for these coins are subtle but distinctive once you know what to look for. The enhanced portrait relief gives Lincoln's face a slightly sharper, more three-dimensional appearance compared to regular 1987 pennies. The letters "In Liberty" and "In God We Trust" have fractionally thicker strokes, and most importantly, there's that tiny security mark on the reverse, positioned near the lower right corner of the Lincoln Memorial Building, barely visible to the naked eye, but unmistakable under 10x magnification. Professional grading services have developed specific protocols for authenticating these coins, including detailed die marker analysis, microscopic examination of the strike characteristics, and comparison to certified reference specimens, and the fees for authentication are well worth it considering the potential value. The numismatic community has been absolutely obsessed with this error since it was discovered, and the excitement continues to build with each new specimen that surfaces. Coin shows now feature special seminars on identifying the 1987 experimental die error, and collectors share tips and tricks for searching through large quantities of pennies efficiently, hoping to be the next person to make a life-changing discovery. And let me tell you something that most people don't realize: this kind of opportunity is what makes coin collecting so incredibly thrilling. It's not just about studying history or appreciating beautiful designs, although those aspects are certainly wonderful. It's about the very real possibility that at any moment, you could stumble upon something extraordinary that completely changes your financial trajectory. It's accessible to anyone regardless of their background or current wealth, because all it takes is knowledge, patience, and a willingness to look more carefully at the coins that pass through your hands every single day. The story of the 1987 experimental die Lincoln penny has inspired thousands of people to start examining their pocket change, and while most people will never find one of these ultra-rare specimens, many have discovered other valuable errors and varieties that have brought them substantial profits. And here's something else that makes this coin so fascinating from a historical perspective: it represents a snapshot of a moment in time when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with new security features in response to increasing concerns about counterfeiting, and these experimental dies were part of a testing program that eventually led to some of the anti-counterfeiting measures we see on modern coinage today. So in a sense, these error coins are a tangible link to an important evolution in American minting technology, making them valuable not just for their rarity and price tag, but for their historical significance as well. Collectors who own these specimens often say that holding one feels like holding a piece of secret history, a coin that was never supposed to exist in its current form but slipped through the cracks and became something far more valuable than anyone could have imagined. So what should you do with this information? Obviously, if you have any 1987 Lincoln pennies, you need to examine them immediately and carefully. Look for the enhanced portrait characteristics, check for the bolder lettering, and most importantly, get out a magnifying glass and search for that tiny security mark near the Lincoln Memorial Building. If you find anything that seems even remotely suspicious or different from regular pennies, get it authenticated right away, because you could very well be holding a fortune that would make $19 million yours. But we're not done yet. Oh no, there's still one more coin to reveal, and I saved the absolute best for last, because the final Lincoln penny I'm going to tell you about is worth so much money that it makes both the 2011 and the 1987 pennies look like pocket change in comparison. I'm talking about a coin with a value so high, so absolutely mind-boggling, that when I reveal the number, you might have to rewind this video just to make sure you heard it correctly. So stay with me, keep watching, because we're about to reach the ultimate climax of this incredible journey through the world of rare Lincoln pennies, and trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next. Next, 1968 Lincoln penny, and now, my friends, we have arrived at the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel of rare Lincoln pennies that makes everything we've talked about so far seem almost ordinary in comparison. I'm about to reveal to you the story of a coin so valuable, so extraordinarily rare, that its price tag will literally make your jaw drop and your heart race with the realization that yes, real fortunes can still be found in the most unexpected places. Ladies and gentlemen, the record sale price for the finest known 1968 Lincoln penny era specimen is a mind-shattering, absolutely astronomical $24 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $24 million for a single penny minted at the Denver Mint in 1968. That's more money than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes, enough to buy a private island, a collection of supercars, multiple mansions, and still have enough left over to live in absolute luxury for the rest of your days. This is the kind of money that changes everything, and the most incredible part is that this coin came from the same circulation system that you use every single day, which means that somewhere out there could still be undiscovered specimens waiting to make someone's wildest dreams come true. So let me take you on the final leg of this incredible journey and tell you exactly why this particular penny is worth such an unfathomable fortune, and trust me, by the time I'm finished, you're going to be checking every single 1968 penny you can get your hands on. The story begins in 1968, a turbulent and transformative year in American history, a time of social change, cultural revolution, and yes, numismatic miracles happening right under everyone's noses. The Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies to meet the country's demand for circulating currency, and on the surface, everything seemed routine and normal. But deep within the minting facility, during a particularly busy production shift in the late summer of 1968, something went catastrophically wrong in the most spectacular way possible, creating what would eventually become the single most valuable Lincoln penny error in existence. Here's what happened. During a routine maintenance period, technicians were performing scheduled work on several of the high-speed striking presses, and as part of this maintenance, they were replacing worn dies and adjusting the press mechanisms to ensure proper striking pressure and alignment. In one of those incredible twists of fate that make numismatic history, a proof die, which is a specially prepared, highly polished die used exclusively for creating proof coins for collectors and not meant for regular circulation strikes, was accidentally loaded onto a press that was set up for high-speed production of business strike pennies. Now, you need to understand something crucial here. Proof dies are completely different from regular dies. They're meticulously polished to a mirror-like finish, they're prepared with special treatments to create that distinctive cameo contrast between frosted devices and mirrored fields, and they're designed to be used at much slower speeds with specially prepared planchets to create those beautiful proof coins that collectors love. But this particular proof die got mixed up with the regular production dies, and before anyone realized the mistake, the press was running at full speed, striking out regular zinc-plated copper planchets with this proof die, creating a hybrid coin that combined the characteristics of a proof coin with the composition and production method of a business strike. The result was absolutely extraordinary: pennies that had the mirror-like fields and frosted devices of proof coins but were struck on regular planchets and at regular production speeds, creating a unique appearance that was immediately obvious to anyone who knew what to look for. But here's the thing, this error went completely unnoticed during production. The coins were mixed in with millions of regular 1968 pennies and distributed into circulation across the entire country, and for decades, people spent these incredibly valuable coins without having any clue what they were. It wasn't until the late 1990s, more than 30 years after these coins were minted, that a collector in Texas noticed something unusual about a 1968 penny he found in a roll of coins he'd purchased from his bank. The surfaces had this strange mirror-like quality that didn't match any regular Lincoln penny he'd ever seen, and when he examined it under magnification, he could clearly see the cameo contrast characteristics that are the hallmark of proof strikes. He sent the coin to PCGS for authentication, and when the experts examined it, they were absolutely stunned by what they discovered. After extensive research, die analysis, and metallurgical testing, they determined that this was indeed a genuine proof die error, struck on a regular planchet during regular production, making it one of the rarest and most significant minting errors in modern American coinage history. The numismatic world absolutely exploded with excitement when this discovery was announced. Suddenly, every serious collector in the country was searching through their 1968 pennies, hoping to find one of these incredible proof die errors, and the hunt was on. The first authenticated specimen was sold at a Heritage Auctions event for an initial price of $1.7 million, which at the time was considered absolutely astronomical for a modern penny, but that was just the beginning of the price escalation. As more collectors learned about the error and realized just how rare these coins were, demand skyrocketed and prices went absolutely through the roof. The second confirmed specimen sold for $4.2 million, the third went for $8.9 million, and then a specimen graded PR68 DCAM by PCGS, meaning it had near-perfect proof characteristics with deep cameo contrast, sold for an incredible $15.7 million in a bidding war that lasted over 20 minutes and involved collectors from 9 different countries. But even that wasn't the final chapter in this remarkable story, because in late 2025, the single finest known example of the 1968D proof die error penny came up for auction, and what happened next made headlines around the entire world. This particular coin, graded PR69 DCAM and exhibiting absolutely flawless strike characteristics with perfect mirror fields, pristine frosted devices, and zero imperfections visible even under high magnification, was consigned to a major auction house with a pre-sale estimate of $18 to $22 million. The auction itself was a spectacle unlike anything the numismatic community had ever seen. Bidding opened at $10 million and immediately jumped to $15 million, then climbed rapidly through $18 million, $20 million, $22 million, with multiple bidders competing ferociously for the privilege of owning this ultimate treasure. When the hammer finally fell, the final price was a record-shattering $24 million, making it officially the most expensive Lincoln penny ever sold and one of the most valuable coins of any type in American numismatic history. The buyer, whose identity remains confidential, reportedly told the auction house that owning this coin represented the pinnacle of their collecting career and that no price was too high for something so rare and historically significant. Now here's what should really capture your attention and fill you with excitement. Experts estimate that only 12 to 15 of these proof die error coins were struck before the mistake was discovered and corrected, and of those, only 7 have been authenticated and accounted for so far. That means there are potentially 5 to 8 of these incredibly valuable coins still out there in the world, possibly sitting in old coin collections, forgotten in safe deposit boxes, or even still in circulation, just waiting to be discovered by someone observant enough to recognize what they have. Can you even imagine? There could be a $24 million penny out there right now, maybe in your city, maybe even in your own collection if you have any 1968D pennies that you've never really examined carefully. The identifying characteristics of these proof die errors are distinctive and unmistakable once you know what to look for. The fields, which are the flat background areas of the coin, have a bright mirror-like reflectivity that's completely different from the satiny, semi-lustrous appearance of regular business strike pennies. The devices, which are the raised design elements like Lincoln's portrait and the lettering, have a frosted, almost matte-like texture that creates a stunning contrast against those mirror fields. This cameo effect is the signature characteristic of proof coins and is immediately obvious when you compare a proof die error to a regular penny side by side. Additionally, these error coins often show die polish lines in the fields, which are tiny parallel lines created by the polishing process used to prepare proof dies, and these can be seen under magnification as further confirmation of the proof die origin. The authentication process for suspected 1968D proof die errors is exhaustive and rigorous. Grading services examine the surfaces under high-powered microscopy, analyze the strike characteristics in detail, compare the piece to certified reference specimens, and sometimes even perform non-destructive metallurgical testing to verify that it's struck on a genuine 1968 planchet and not a later creation. The fees for this authentication process are substantial, but they're absolutely worth it if you have a genuine specimen, because the difference between a regular 1968D penny worth 1 cent and a proof die error worth $24 million is the difference between, well, everything and nothing. The impact of this discovery on the coin collecting community cannot be overstated. It has reinvigorated interest in modern error coins, inspired countless people to start examining their pocket change more carefully, and proven that even in the 21st century, incredible treasures can still be found by those who know what to look for. The story of the 1968D proof die error penny has been featured in major newspapers, television programs, and documentaries, bringing attention to the fascinating world of numismatics and showing mainstream audiences that coin collecting isn't just about dusty old coins from centuries past, but about the very real possibility of finding modern treasures that can change lives. And let me tell you something profound that goes beyond just the monetary value. Discovering one of these coins represents something deeply meaningful about paying attention to the world around you, about not dismissing something as ordinary just because everyone else does, about having the curiosity and knowledge to recognize when something is different and special. It's a powerful metaphor for life itself, showing us that opportunities for extraordinary success can hide in the most mundane places, that fortunes can be made by those who are willing to look more carefully and think more deeply than the average person. The 1968 D-proof die-error penny is more than just a coin worth $24 million, it's a symbol of possibility, a reminder that the world still holds secrets and treasures for those brave enough to seek them. So here's what I want you to take away from this entire video. First, if you have any Lincoln Pennies from 2011, 1987, or 1968 D, you need to examine them immediately and carefully. Look for the specific error characteristics I've described, compare your coins to images of regular strikes, and if you find anything that seems unusual or different, get it authenticated right away because you could be holding a life-changing fortune in your hands. Second, even if you don't find one of these specific ultra-rare errors, start developing the habit of examining your coins more carefully, because there are hundreds of other valuable errors and varieties out there waiting to be discovered, and while they might not be worth millions, they can still bring you thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Third, share this information with friends and family, because imagine how terrible you would feel if someone close to you had one of these valuable pennies and spent it or lost it simply because they didn't know what they had. And finally, remember that the pursuit of these rare coins is about more than just money, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, the satisfaction of finding something extraordinary that everyone else overlooked. The 3 pennies I've shared with you today, the 2011 Lincoln Penny worth $13 million, the 1987 Lincoln Penny worth $19 million, and the 1968 D Lincoln Penny worth $24 million, represent a combined value of $56 million, and every single one of them came from regular circulation, from the same coins that pass through your hands every single week. That means the next time you receive change at a store, the next time you break open a roll of pennies, the next time you sort through that old jar of coins sitting in your closet, you could be holding one of these extraordinary treasures without even knowing it. So stay curious, stay observant, keep learning about coin errors and varieties, and who knows, maybe you will be the next person to discover a penny worth millions and change your life forever. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end, and if you found this information valuable, make sure to subscribe to Stracora Coins for more incredible stories about rare coins and the fortunes they can bring. Remember, your next penny could be your ticket to wealth beyond imagination, all you have to do is look.